Joining me on Newsx is the Congress leader who has been tasked to take on Delhi's former Chief Minister and AAP Supremo Arvind Kejriwal from the New Delhi seat. He is the son of Delhi's former three-time Chief Minister and also a Congress stalwart, the late Srimati Sheila Dikshit ji. With me on Newsx is Mr. Sandeep Dikshit. Mr.
Hello.
Dikshit,
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us on Newsx. Of course, you're not new to politics or elections. You've served as a member of parliament. I want to understand from you, however, the task this time is slightly different, taking on Arvind Kejriwal and BJP's Parvesh Verma. What has been your strategy?
Yeah, I find this a far more interesting and exciting election. 2004 and 9 weren't really that, those kind of contests, I think we were on a bit of a winning run. Our governments had done well. People wanted to elect us. Although they were more, fiercely fought elections on both sides. I mean, BJP was, in 2004 was the ruling party, and they somehow thought they'll come back in 2009. This election is somewhat different because it's almost for the first time that I'm fighting an election as the opposition.
Right.
And when you're doing that, there is little in terms of your own accountability. There's much in terms of the accountability of the incumbent. But here it's a very interesting thing that's actually come out. That is that while we don't have any anti-incumbency or an accountability issue with regard to Congress, there is and I really can't figure out how this has come out, but there is a great fervor amongst people of a nostalgic remembrance of Delhi's Congress rule, which is related with Sheila ji also. So we don't have to introduce ourselves anywhere. We don't really have to prove any kind of a credibility. There is no doubt in people's minds that we can do things because we have done things. So in some senses, we are quite the, party in people's minds, right?
Okay.
The challenge therefore becomes as to how effectively we can critique both the BJP, because BJP, remember, has also been in power. It's done its MCD. Government of India has a lot of role in Delhi, and they've not really done anything exceptional in Delhi over the last 10 years. And of course, a fairly disastrous government that the Aam Aadmi Party has given. And at least in the past 3-4 years, people are not particularly happy with them. And this string of freebies that you are continuously announcing further proves the point that they are nervous. So while we are battling two powerful parties and a powerful candidate, the feeling on ground is something that's almost taking us, on a very fast path.
But don't you think the Congress suddenly critiquing the Aam Aadmi Party and how it is in the national capital versus 6 months ago for the Lok Sabha elections, you were just very, friends, one can say. You were part of the same opposition bloc. So yes, you were sharing the stage with them. And of course, your strategy was to bring the BJP down. Switching over from that, and now Akhilesh Yadav, few members of the India bloc also extending their support to the Aam Aadmi Party specifically in New Delhi. Do you feel that somehow really puts some questions in people's minds about the overall credibility of what the opposition has to say?
Well, it could have, had things not been, at least for people, a little more simpler than this. See, when we were doing the national battle, right, Kejriwal was not being discussed. Okay. Even Kejriwal realized that if he pushed too much on his rhetoric of that he's done well, his schools and his hospitals, he could probably get the alliance some votes. He realized that that's not happening. And if you remember, he had only gone around saying that, vote for me so I can get out of jail. Apart from that, there was not really anything that was being said about Kejriwal as a person. It was all about UPA 1, UPA 2, Narendra Modi, his disastrous rule, etc., and the common agenda and the Nyay Path that Rahul ji and others had brought about. So really, Kejriwal was hardly a figure talked about or discussed in that election. Okay, so when it was really Congress and Congress's alliance that was fighting, it was not a very comfortable alliance. I'll be very clear about that. It's not that on ground our worker armies and those of the AAP were very happy with each other and worked for each other. In fact, they did not really. And in many instances, they worked against each other. But that was not really on the field. And many people on the field knew that this was not an election about Delhi government. When it came to Delhi government, we've actually been critiquing and criticizing Aam Aadmi Party much more viciously and much more strongly and much more confidently than the BJP has done for a very, very long time. We did it with facts, we did it with figures, we did it with sending their, our information about their corruption cases to the LG. In fact, many of the cases against Kejriwal are because of letters from Congress and some of them from people like me and others, not from the BJP. So people realized and people knew that as far as the Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, who has really been critiquing and criticizing them on the field? It has been the Congress. So I think that confusion was not as much as it could have been, maybe if it had been some other state.
Okay, but doesn't it reflect somewhere on the Congress that they are in a way supporting a man who they think is corrupt?
We never supported him. We were only putting we were not getting into the position where we would force our common voters to choose between them and us.
Okay.
They were not voting for Kejriwal.
Right.
That time they were trying to choose a prime minister. And many people knew that it would probably be either Mr. Modi, and in case the alliance wins, Mr. Gandhi, or whatever the India alliance may choose. Okay. He was not talked about, so his corruption was not an issue.
Right.
People didn't talk about that. Had those issues come up, things may have happened differently.
Okay. Coming back to Delhi, you of course watched the development of Delhi take place very closely, especially under the tenure of your mother. And a lot of people say that she's left behind a pretty large legacy as far as infrastructural work in the national capital is concerned. How do you compare 15 years of Congress versus 10 years of AAP?
Let me also add here, it's not just infrastructure. I think there was stupendous work done in education, in health, in environment, okay, in fiscal management, in growth, in employment. I just want to put it there because, people stop at infrastructure and stop what Mrs. Dikshit was doing. It was actually much more there. I think those were pretty fantastic 15 years. And compared to what Kejriwal has done, they've just been average performances. Okay. Buttressed by his rhetoric of having done exceptionally well. But I haven't seen him doing anything exceptionally better or at a faster pace or at a quantum much more than what his predecessor was doing.
Okay. All three political parties, Mr. Dikshit, have also made certain monetary promises to the women of Delhi. Clearly, the women voter has become a focal point as far as this election is concerned and likely to play a pretty critical role as well. The Congress party has announced a 2,500 rupees monetary benefit allowance to women. How is that supposed to help the women of Delhi? And also, what about their overall security?
I think it's a matter of this whole game that started in 2013 of what I would call pretty bad competitive populism. When a party like the Aam Aadmi Party showed that a promise of some 400-500 wiped off your electricity bills can actually change a government that had done fantastically well, okay? It started putting question marks on a lot of our minds as to what are the politics that matters to people. What are the policies that people are really thinking of? Over time, fortunately, unfortunately, whichever way you want to see, voters have been showing, at least in the past 5-6 years, that it's not so much what you're doing overall, it's not jobs that they are really concerned. Inflation can be put onto the back burner. Issues of national growth, issues of industrialization, issues of good urban services, issues of good infrastructure facilities may not be doing so well, at least at the state level, as much as freebies do. I mean, what the Ladli scheme did in Madhya Pradesh, what a similar scheme did in Maharashtra, what some of them may have done to say some of the areas where we won governments. It has started telling the politician, okay, that people are right now probably getting attracted far more by unproductive investments, which are called freebies, rather than more thought out, more fruitful investments into people, whether it is pensions or it is creating jobs or it's industrialization, whatever it may be. And so finally, political parties don't want to be known for having had a great manifesto. They want to be known for having won elections and been in the rule for a longer period than their opponents. Okay, it's like winning a game. You don't win the game because you play the greatest football. You win the game by scoring the maximum number of goals. And if goals are to be scored by getting things in terms of freebies, unfortunately, it's this comparative populism that all parties will have to get into till such date as our finances collapse. And I think we are well on the verge of that.
Okay, you've also targeted the BJP for copying your manifesto. You've said that a lot of their schemes are very similar to yours. I just mentioned the 2,500 rupees
Right,
to women.
right.
They've announced a similar amount. AAP's at 2,100. So both of
It's all,
them,
all,
yes, you
all in the same range. Yeah,
upped
yeah.
your game. Subsidy on LPG cylinders, etc. You've just spoken about freebies. Is that really? Do you really feel that that's the way forward in politics?
No,
And
it's
why is the
not.
Congress
No,
not
no,
separating itself
no, it's
then?
not. But the thing is, once you do that, you can get a level playing field for other topics and other things to get discussed.
Okay.
Like when I was in the field, lot of women asked me that Parvesh is giving 1100, Kejriwal is giving 21. What about you? That was almost the first question. They know. They told me clearly Sheila D did fantastic work. They have not got the subsidies because NDMC is not an area where you get power and this subsidy. They are not happy with Kejriwal. But 2100 was in their mind. 1100 as cash was in their mind. And it takes a long time to tell them that 1100 is like a bribe. 2100 won't be effective. And when you take the discussion to jobs, they change their point of view. But nobody has that kind of a patience or time for a citizen campaigner engagement in a matter of just 35 days of campaigning. It will probably take 6 months of campaigning. So what is it? So what we did is, once this 2500 came, you settle the point there. The women's or the family feels satisfied that you are matching them with a better, even if it's a slightly better offer. So then when you start talking of who can develop Delhi, who can give jobs, who can give cleaner environment, and mind you, air pollution is there in a lot of people's minds, including what people may not believe, people from economically weaker sections, then suddenly those are things in which if you talk, people start listening to you. Otherwise, that little thing, 2100, 2500, would almost make our other arguments ineffective.
Okay, fair enough. Coming to then the actual issues of Delhi, why is nobody then really talking about fixing the roads of Delhi? We are watching our infrastructure literally crumble around us. There's only a patch of Delhi that's fine, but it seems as though we have no forward planning on how to deal with the influx of people who are coming into the national capital. The roads are just blocked all the time. How does the Congress party want to solve this crisis?
I think our thing has been, in fact, I think we are the only party which is really seriously talking of that, because when we are invoking Sheilaji Wali Delhi, we are talking of a Delhi that also had infrastructure pretty central to its model of Delhi. When Kejriwal says my model, it's a freebie model. When BJP says it's a model, we don't know what model they are talking about because they are not articulating it. See, they are saying Gujarat model or whatever. These are not applicable to a city like Delhi, okay? And God forbid, if they try to implement their MCD model, it's going to be horrific for Delhi. So I don't know what model they have. Congress is the only one which had a model. We showed that there are great bottlenecks that could be sorted out. We showed that there are sewage treatment plants that could be brought in. We showed that we can bring in more water and make it drinkable to people. That there are schooling systems that we brought in that increased results astronomically. We could bring in 6 to 8 universities so children could study in public schools and not public colleges and not go to private colleges. Lots of that. We were able to increase the green cover by almost 10 times and not do it without forced evictions or getting new trees done. So I think people realize that we could do a lot of things given the limited mandate that Delhi government has. And remember, the limited mandate was then, the limited mandate is today, including the limited powers. So I think when we are talking of the fact that we will endeavor to reduce air pollution as we did in the 15 years of Mrs. Dikshit, that we can try and be more effective in cleaning the Yamuna because of the sewage capacities that we developed, that we will be able to get in more green cover, that we will be able to get many of the traffic bottlenecks eased out as we did last time. There is some credibility in what we say because we're the only ones they believe in the last 15, 20 years who could do this, especially the voters who have a memory of that time. Okay. Right? That is where I think Congress can score and is scoring.
Okay, you talk about air pollution. That's, of course, a major problem in the national capital now. The only difference is that some of us have the luxuries of packing up our bags for a couple of months and leaving, but most of Delhi doesn't have that luxury. What is then the Congress's plan if you come to power in Delhi? Will you say take on the farmers of Punjab and Haryana, take them to task?
Look, first of all, the farmers of Punjab and Haryana are not a major contributor to pollution. What happens in Parali is only 6 to 7% or 8% of the pollution in Delhi, and that is also periodic. Today there is no Parali burning, but there's horrific pollution outside. See, people, when they see a bit of smoky air, they believe it's pollution. Our SPM levels are very, very dangerous even today. Till about 3-4 days ago, it was some 350 or 370. So pollution has become a standard and a normal in our lives, right? We believe those 2 months because it's smoky, but it's dangerous all through. 5 or 6 things that we did in the past, and that is what we can quite easily do even now is: one, ease out traffic. Our average gear is in Delhi, from being on the third gear of the car running on an average speed, is now gone down to below 2, which increases diesel and petrol pollution by almost 6 to 7 times, and add on to the fact that there are more vehicles today. Once you start easing out traffic bottlenecks through much better, better planned contextual infrastructure of the 2010s was different from what we may need today in different circumstances. You start easing traffic and getting it, what is called tailpipe emissions, get reduced substantially, okay, including two-wheelers. Second is you have to increase public transport. Our buses are in a complete mess. You won't believe it, but the Delhi ridership of DTC has actually gone below what it was in 2013. In 2013, 43 lakh passengers were the average per day. Today, including cluster buses, is 41 lakhs, when it should actually have been about 60 or 65 lakhs, because DTC has completely disappeared and is decimated because it's facing a shortage of about 45,000 crores. They've completely messed up the DTC. Let me give you a figure. The number of vehicle breakdowns as a number of 1,000 buses was 66 per 1,000 buses in 2013. It's 1,028 today. Obviously, if all your buses are lying on the wayside and not moving, where will public traffic work? And metro. I keep repeating these numbers because, just recently our former Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal went on some, lie rhetoric about what he had done to metro. Let me give you the numbers. 2002, the first phase 1 starts.
Yes.
It makes 93 or 94 kilometers. Phase 2 starts in 2006, gets completed in 2011. 194 kilometers are laid. Phase 3 of another 190 kilometers starts in 2011, was supposed to be completed by 2016 and 17, doesn't get completed till 2023. Where was the Delhi government then? And phase 4 gets planned only in 2023 and gets a section of 64 kilometers. We should have been probably 600 kilometers plus of metro. We should have been at least 10,000 buses on the ground. We should have had a ridership of about 60 to 70 lakhs on buses. Obviously, if your public transport collapses, people will go to cars. And then those cars are hardly running because you don't have roads. You yourself said there are potholes everywhere. So traffic becomes a mess. Public transport is not there. Our green cover is not expanding. And the other thing that we did, not many people may remember, I don't know whether you would have memories of that or not, but if behind Pragati Maidan, if you ever went, there were these 3 very large thermal plants, Pragati 1, Pragati 2, Pragati 3. In Shilaji's time, we closed all these 3, knowing the fact that we needed electricity. And in place of that, one 330 megawatt CNG plant was put up there, and 2 plants totaling about 650 megawatts of CNG was started in Bhavana 1 and Bhavana 2. So there was a greenification of our power production. I don't see any greenification of any new power production happening. The other thing we will have to do is, within a 300 square kilometer range of Delhi, there are a large number of thermal power plants whose technologies have become old. I'm told there are new kinds of technologies available that can reduce thermal power emissions by almost 60%. I'm forgetting the name of that. So if there is a Delhi government that talks to other states without abusing them, that only doesn't keep telling UP that, your parali is killing us without even knowing about what they did in Punjab. If it stops blaming Haryana all the time for its water mess and its own mess and talks to them decently like a government to government, you can get things done. Okay, so then I think some of that is the kind of work we'll have to do. I think we'll have to put in more money. Delhi government finances are in a mess. If I tell you the numbers, they're actually quite horrifying. We don't have money left for anything. And when some of these freebies kick in, I don't know where the money will come for even basic salaries. So I think we'll have to put that on ground, get our air pollution things done, put back our public transport in order, get our roads repaired, get new infrastructure in, get a lot more of greenification going. Maybe we'll be able to at least stem the tide somewhere and hopefully start reducing the pollution.
Are you saying that the Aam Aadmi Party has actually used the money that they could have to carry forward some of the projects that Congress had put in place in terms of improving the infrastructure of the national capital and diverted that towards their freebie politics?
Let me give you the numbers. Delhi government's budget this year was 76,000 crores. Okay, 39,000 crores is committed expenditure, salaries, maintenance. You can't touch that. It has to go. All the money we have for development schemes is about 37,000 crores, which is already stretched because of a fair amount of subsidies. Okay, that is where your money for new infrastructure, new buses, new flyovers, etc. is going to come, which is why they've not been able to really build anything in the last year. In spite of Arvind Kejriwal's claim that he built 37 flyovers, which is bunkum. He's built about 7 or 8 new, the rest is all crap. I can give you factually that all that infrastructure is what was started in Sheilaji's time, completed under him, and many of them not even completed. Certain sideways, side flyovers, side clovers were called flyovers by him, but forget that, okay? So 37,000 crores is what we have. At very conservative estimates, the new Mahila Samman Yojana is going to cost anything between 12 to 13,000 crores. And at very conservative estimates, his health scheme is going to cost 14 to 16,000 crores. Where is this 20,000 crores, 25,000 crores going to come from? So I think we are going to get into real trouble if his government comes back. The other thing he's done is fiscal mismanagement. Let me end with this point, my point. You know that there is a trend of a rise in fiscal collection and tax collection that any good government does. If it's collecting, say, its revenues are increasing by, say, 7 to 8% per annum, it should be able to do that over the next foreseeable future. Until unless there is a significant tectonic shift in the economy of the state. In Delhi, there's been no tectonic shift in the last 15, 20 years, except for those 1 or 2 years of COVID. So if you discount the COVID years, I even discount the fact that after GST coming in, states have actually done far better in revenue collection. And Delhi being primarily a sales tax city, it should have done astronomically well in GST. If you just take the growth rates of Sheilaji's last 10 years, 2004 to 14, apply those growth numbers to the taxation and take the actual own tax revenue collected by Kejriwal, there is actually a loss in revenue collection in the last 10 years of 1,84,000 crores.
Okay.
This is the mess that he has gone and done. If we just put this mess back on track, a lot of our work will be able to be done with the present amount of money.
Okay. On that note, the Aam Aadmi Party, in fact, the Chief Minister herself has promised to reinstate the excise policy if AAP wins once again. What are your thoughts on that?
Obviously, everybody wants to get their own tax revenues back.
Yeah.
And this is Aam Aadmi Party's personal tax. Okay. They will have to. They have no other way. See, they've done so much commitment to the liquor dealers. They will have to, otherwise they are going to be in a mess. Okay. And how else do you defend a corrupt scheme? By constantly sticking to it. I think what she has done is what any crook would do. Sorry for using this word, but that's what I feel they are if they want to bring this back. The loss of 2,000 crores in 6 months, I think has not been significant enough to hit them. You know, it's not just a 2,000 crore scam, the CAG. 6 months they lose 2,000 crores. Imagine if the scheme had continued. 1 year it would have been 4,000 crores. Last 4 years it would have been 17,000 crores. Remember, during Chidambaram's time, they have done extrapolated losses for 2G.
Yes.
So if you do those kind of losses, extension, it's a 18,000 crore scam. And imagine a 18,000 crore rupees scam. If there is corruption, as might get proved in courts, okay, corruption means that for the kind of benefits you're going to give unduly to a private business entity, some of that gets flowed back. So even if it is 10%, it's about 2,000 crores. So it's a pretty big number. How can Atishi, whose party may have done that kind of a deal, not tell the people who've done that deal that they may get it back for them?
Mr. Dikshit, I have a very pertinent question to also ask. Now, many people believe that the reason why Sheila ma'am was able to flourish in the national capital was because Congress was also in power in the center. Mm-hmm. We have watched BJP and Aam Aadmi Party clash for the past 10 years.
Yes.
AAP struggles, or they claim that they struggle to really work with the BJP, get funds out, get any support they need. If the Congress wins, how will you deal with it? Because the party in the center is not changing.
Aam Aadmi Party is just doing it as a drama. First of all, Mrs. Dikshit, even in her first 5 years under the BJP, did fairly well. Okay. Yes. The only difference between other states and Delhi is in Delhi, decisions get delayed. They don't get stopped. Okay. Has Aam Aadmi Party been able to come out with a single case where there has actually been a complete stoppage of what they said? Delays, yes, I can understand. See, in UP, the UP CM signs a file and it becomes law.
Yes.
Okay, it becomes a policy. In Delhi, you sign, it goes to the LG, or it may go to the Home Minister. And that's been the case even earlier on. Large number of things, when we got Mrs. Dikshit to file, went to the LG. It came back after 3 months, 6 months, sometimes even 8, 9 months. But it happened. But you don't go abusing people you have to work with. You don't go to their faces and call them crooks, which is what Kejriwal did. This present governor, he went and called a crook. He said some CBI cases are against him. For people you have to work, you have to respect institutions. You may or may not like a person. You have to respect the Prime Minister if you are under him. You may critique the Prime Minister as much as you want, kind politically. But you can't go around abusing people. So obviously you don't want to work. How is it that not a single Chief Secretary under him has been good? Have all LGs been bad? Have all Home Secretaries been crooked? Have all police commissioners been horrible? How is it that he doesn't get along with absolutely anybody? A chief minister who gets the chief secretary slapped in his own home, can he or she ever expect anybody to work with him? He has messed up the working relationship of Delhi government. All that the Congress is saying is, we will work, we will be critical of other parties as political parties. But we will not be critical of people with whom we have to work. Our constitutional system says that in Delhi, the central union government and state government in many things have to work together.
Yes.
Until you don't work together, you're being unfaithful to the people who elected you.
Okay, I have last few questions left. I'll try to keep it very quick. Your colleague, Mr. Ajay Makhan, today has said that he thinks it's a bad idea to come into any sort of alliance with the Aam Aadmi Party. But if the post-poll mathematics opens up some sort of a window of opportunity, will the Congress Party join hands with AAP?
I think we should ask AAP, because what my feeling is that it is we AAP which will be thinking of who to align with. Okay, not Congress. We'll be the most substantive party. So ask them what they will do.
Why is the Congress Party, sir, hesitating to really announce a CM face?
I think we're not doing that because we're not hesitating. I think it's a strategy. Sometimes it's good not to have a face, because also remember, after 10 years, we haven't had an MLA. Okay, and people start realizing leaders when they have power, or they've ridden on a movement as Kejriwal did or as N.T. Ramarao did in Andhra. We haven't had that kind of 8-10 years, okay? So while we have leaders who may have local powers, who may be either in their constituency or their MP constituency or in a large leadership qualities or leadership abilities, we perhaps as of today don't have a city-wide face. So in that, when that kind of a thing happens, all leaders putting their might together is a much better fighting force than putting across one name, which may sometimes tone down the energies and power of the other competing candidates. So I think it's a legitimate strategy of the Congress not to have a face, and I don't think it's really bad for us to do that.
Are you looking forward to someday perhaps being in that position of Chief Minister of Delhi?
Right now, I'm looking forward to have an exciting election. Okay. I think I'm enjoying it. I've never enjoyed any election as much as I've enjoyed this. Okay, so I'm looking forward for the next 15-20 days, and then let's see what happens.
I, of course, as a journalist, have to ask you, how many seats is the Congress hoping for?
I think we're going to do very well. I dare say we'll probably form the government. I would say 38, 40. I mean, we could get up to that number. Okay. We will get up to that number.
Okay, Mr. Dikshit, one last question to you. We saw in 2014, Prime Minister Modi brought the Gujarat model and presented it to the country. We also saw Arvind Kejriwal following a similar strategy where he said that there's a Delhi model that I'm developing, and then in the next election he used that. He said, this is my model, I'm presenting that. Sheila ji left a pretty wonderful model for the national capital. Why do you think the Congress party did not capitalize on that opportunity to really present the Delhi model?
I think the bashing that we got in 2013 put us on our back foot.
Right.
Okay? And we didn't realize how to resurrect a castle which is actually very beautiful, but which had been blackened by dark skies all around for whatever reason. I mean, being a little dramatic and filmy in how I'm portraying it, but that's probably what had happened. It's like putting a shroud over a very, very beautiful building. So It just started looking ugly. And we didn't know how to get out of that. I think party was very reluctant. They did not know whether to use Mrs. Dikshit's name or not, because there was a lot of slur on her. There was a lot of doubt in people's minds on her reputation. A lot of dirt was being spread out about her. So I think we couldn't resurrect ourselves from that. And Congress has a very, very major problem. We really don't know how to fight for our leaders. We have that problem.
Right.
BJP and the others do it in very different ways. We somehow have this very, very bad tendency of abandoning what we believe might be at that moment a liability. We don't realize that a lot of liabilities in a longer term, or even you defend a liability, can actually also be a great asset. Somehow, as a party, we've never learned how to do that.
Have you then, in the last decade, done enough to win back the trust of the people of Delhi?
I don't know. Let's see. I'm trying my best. I think I'll be able to at least win back the trust of New Delhi.
Okay.
Let's see.
All right. That was Mr. Sandeep Dikshit, sir. Thank you so much for once again joining us on Newsx to have that very, very important and candid conversation. Of course, Delhi votes on the 5th of February, and we will know the mandate of the people on the 8th of February. Join us on Newsx to know the election results.